blank. And that's what it references.
Yeah.
Good evening. We're going to call our council meeting to order. Just like to take a moment to welcome each of you to our meeting this evening, and I would ask, please, if you have cell phones, to please turn them off or put them on silence. I would ask you to stand, please. We'll have invocation by Councilmember Malinowski, prayer by Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sorry, Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Reed, and prayer by Councilmember Malinowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holy Spirit, we feel you in our midst. Help us to breathe in your wisdom and your peace. Help us to consider all opinions and perspectives equally, to keep open minds, and to think with clarity and purpose, knowing that our decisions might affect not only current residents, but those of the future. We bring all this to you in a spirit of hope. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. This is certainly a special evening for our council this evening. We know that our basketball team won the state championship, and they are here with us this evening. We're going to invite the coach and his team to come on down. Coach Anderson, we'd just like to take a moment to say that we're proud of you, and we are proud of your team and the success that you have made this year. We know it wasn't easy, it was challenging, but at the end of the day, in Macon, Georgia, a few weeks ago, you made all of us smile. And for that, we are grateful for you, your team, and your dedication to what you do for us in our community, and especially the Morgan County School System. So we're going to cheer you once again.
Yes. No way you gonna see your people. No way.
You have to stay on that diet.
And just to keep cheering you on, we have a medal to put around the necks of these champions for us this evening. I'm going to take the coaches and the bus driver who depends upon,
Thomas.
and our council members are going to take the ball players and take a moment to put a medal around each of their necks. So we will start.
Councilman,
Okay.
this is my grandson, so
Councilmember Reed wants us to know this is her grandson.
yeah.
I guess we can cut around this way. Congratulations. We're so proud. Well done. Congratulations. So proud of you. May I?
round of applause.
Y'all have a good one. Thank y'all.
Approval of our agenda item for this evening. We would like to put item 7A first on our agenda this evening and make item A1. So we could get a motion to move Sky Construction, Andrews Park Restroom Project, Sean Wood, Lorinda Mason, and Karen Stapp to A.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
There ain't no more discussion. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you so very, very much. So at this time, Sean, you and
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we wanted to present recommendation for award of contract for the invitation to bid that we recently did for the new park, Andrews Park restroom facility at 501 Wellington Street, sorry. The project is funded through SPLOST funds, and it includes all labor, materials, and site work necessary for the fully functioning building. Just a summary of the bid process. We did use the invitation to bid, and so there was a total of 15 bids, so we had a lot of interest. We opened those on March 13th, and the lowest responsible and responsive bidder was Sky Construction and Development LLC. The project cost is $260,169, and the timeline that they gave, if they started on April 1st, so we would need to adjust this just a little, would be April 1st through July 10th. And so this contract has also been approved by the attorney, reviewed and approved by the city attorney already, and so we are recommending the award of contract.
so council, better questions for Sean and Lorinda Mason, Karen?
Did you say 250,169? Did I get that
Sorry.
number right?
260,169.
260? And Linda, is that the complete expectation of what to erect the restrooms would be?
Yes, and that included the labor, materials, and site work necessary
Okay. So that just for the restrooms only, is that right?
for the restroom.
Okay.
Okay.
Would that be two restrooms, I assume? How many?
It would be a men's and a women's restroom, men and a women's restroom, just like at Hill Park.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
And this will be SPLOST 8?
That's what I was gonna ask.
It is going to come out of the remaining SPLOST 7. It was part of a schedule on how to spend the remaining funds in SPLOST 7, which ended in March 2025. And so there's $300,000 in SPLOST 7 for this project.
Okay, okay, we can get a motion and a second from this council to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
There any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimous. Thank you so much, Sean. Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Sure. Public hearing, and I would like to stress that this particular variance was tabled at our last council meeting because of some clarity, and we asked them to come back this evening. And of course, we had our public hearing on this variance at our last council meeting, so there will be no comments from our audience tonight. We'll just listen to our staff report. I'm sorry, but before I go do that, I would like to take a moment to recognize Monica Callahan. I'm sure most of you read in the paper 2 or 3 weeks ago, where she received the national recognition. Madison Planning Director Monica Callahan has been named as one of 250 champions across the country by the National Academy of Public Administration and Local Government 250. We'd like to congratulate Monica for this precious.
Mr. Mayor, I'm required to recuse myself again
Yes, sir,
from
you
this
are.
agenda item, so
Yes,
I'll
sir.
be waiting.
We'll come get you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jill, are you and
Yes.
Molly
And
ready?
just to clarify, y'all want a full staff report this evening?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna skip to the end. You're getting a little sneak peek. Okay. So the applicant is requesting a variance to section 700.2, table 12, commercial zoning district dimensional requirements to construct a 3-story mixed-use building that would exceed dimensional maximums at the property. The variances include a building width maximum variance from 60 feet to 103 feet 4 inches, a building floor area maximum variance from 800 square feet to 12,941 square feet, and a building height maximum variance from 35 feet to 49 feet 10 inches with the elevator shaft. However, if they take the elevator shaft, the height will be 42 feet 8 inches. HPC discussed the project scale at the 2025 October HPC meeting and reported that the application's general massing, meaning the height, width, and depth of the proposed structure, is appropriate based on the historical reference to the massing of the former New Morgan Hotel, which occupied the site until 1930. The property is zoned C1 and located in the downtown revitalization area, downtown core character area. The desired vision and outcome listed for this character area is mixed uses with a single building, particularly second floor residential, compatible infill, full lot coverage, 0 lot line, 2-story maximum height, new businesses, uses, and activities attracting downtown-oriented foot traffic. So I just wanted to pull this up just so everyone understands what's being proposed versus what can be done by right. With proper subdivision of the property, they can actually build to 0 lot line, and they can cover both the front parcel as well as the back parcel.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked a little bit about this last month, but I just wanted to go over it a little bit more. By right, the applicant can build their property out to the lot lines with the building height of 35 feet. The square footage could actually reach 63,000 square feet, and they're actually proposing a building that is 20,000 less square feet than that. So another thing to mention is, by right, the developer could also put a storefront along East Jefferson Street, and any developer could do that, but the applicant is not proposing to put a storefront along East Jefferson Street, but that is just what can be done by right on this property if they choose to subdivide the property.
Mm-hmm.
So just something to think about. The square footage is quite different from what can be done by right. We talked about this last time, but the Planning and Zoning Commission also recommended approval, and that motion passed 5-0. And this concludes the staff report.
Okay, back to our council member for a final discussion.
Yeah, Mayor, I would say that the reason we're here tonight is because the applicant has asked for variances to what he can do by right. We're not even involved in decisions that are by right. It doesn't involve any action by us on the council. They're entitled to do whatever building the zoning ordinance allows, be that good outcome or be that bad outcome. That's what the zoning ordinance allows. Tonight, we're asked to look at 3 exceptions to the rules, the ordinance. And I might add, our zoning ordinance is not the Magna Carta or the Declaration of Independence. But it is a legal document. There's legal bearing to what we do. There's legal procedures that get followed. There's legal criteria that go into our decisions. It's not a set of suggestions. It's got legal bearing. I just wanted to make that point. Here's kind of my thinking, and I'm anxious to hear what the rest of the council thinks. But as I look at the standards, and under 260, excuse me, at 1130.6 in the zoning ordinance, under variances, it said, quote, required findings for variance approval. Required findings, plural, required, I mean, you kind of make your own decisions on that. So I'm looking at the standards, the 8 standards that we're supposed to apply when we look at variances. Okay, so the first one, let's take them kind of one at a time here. There's the frontage. Currently, I believe Mr. Snyder's property is like 103 feet wide in the frontage on Hancock. The zoning ordinance only allows a building 60 feet wide. That's not a missing tooth, that's like a missing half of a jaw, really. So I understand that may not be appropriate in this situation. So I'm inclined personally to give the full requested variance on the frontage. That would be, it's currently at 60 feet in the zoning ordinance because of the unusual size of the property. And right off the bat it says extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the property because of size. Well, it's a big, some of the regulations don't seem to really work for a property this big. 60 foot is one prime example. I will say, however, when we talk about missing teeth, I think I made a mention of a not so attractive missing tooth on the driveway at the bank next door. I agree, that's not a very attractive missing tooth. We have a very attractive missing tooth right around the corner on Editor's Walk, right next to Wing Nights. That's a missing tooth that is charming. But I don't feel entitled to put my personal sensibilities on what the applicant wants to do. It's his property and it's his money going into the investment. So I personally would be willing to give a large variance from 60 feet to the full 103 feet of the frontage. That's where I'm at with that. Square footage, currently allowed 8,000 square feet. I think a 25% increase of that to 10,000 square feet is adequate. Don't forget standard number 8 is the variance, is the minimum variance that will make possible an economically viable use of the land. So it's kind of it's sort of a two-part question in my mind. Is a variance warranted? In this case, I think it is. It's a very large property. The 8,000 square feet may not be quite right. Needs a lot of open space. I'd be willing to go up 25% increase to 10,000 square foot building on that property. The third variance request is an increase of the 35-foot height limit. If you go back on the planning department report, standard number 1 says this statement of exceptional conditions does not relate to the building height maximum variance. The square footage of the lot itself has nothing to do with the height. We have a small lot right next to Scoops. I think it's like 400 square foot on the entire lot. It has the same height opportunity, the same sky limit as a big, huge property like Mr. Snyder owns. So, and I think the planning department recognizes that and says this statement of exceptional conditions doesn't relate to the height variance. Number 2, the same thing at the end of number 2. However, this statement of hardship does not relate to the building height maximum variance. You get down to number 4. However, the building height maximum variance might confer a special privilege denied to other properties in the district. Again, the height is looked at differently than the square footage. So there's three of the standards right there kind of undermined by the fact that they don't really apply to height. And then the final one is we get down to what the comp plan refers to as the character area. And it mentions 2-story maximum, it mentions retail on the first floor, and it mentions apartments on the second floor. But the 2-story maximum kind of undermines the idea that anything beyond that comports with that, with the comp plan. So I would not be inclined to give any variance whatsoever on height. I think in my reading of the required findings, it fails on 5 of the 8. And I don't know how I can approve height variance when it fails 5 of the 8 standards that we're supposed to apply. That's kind of my thinking, Mayor. If you want that in a form of a motion, I can do that. If you'd rather have comments from other council members first,
Like for the other council members too.
fine.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
My comments remain the same as they did the last time. We have not approved anything that says they have to meet all 8 of the variances. We have it in writing, but we have not approved it as of yet. And my thing is, if Mr. Snyder came and went to planning and zoning and HPC to get their recommendations, and we're sort of looking over their recommendations, why do we have planning and zoning and HPC? They approved it unanimously, and we are struggling to approve it. So we are acting as if we don't need their information. They're the specials, or whatever you want to call them, in this area. So I don't have any more comments. My comments were made at the last meeting, and they still stand.
Jill?
Go for it. You ready? Here we go.
Go.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for those comments, Carrie and Eric. I do want to, I know there's so many people have put so much time and effort in all of this, and public comment and all that. I mean, it's just been, this is how our community works, and it's awesome. I would like to comment on HPC, and my colleague pointed out that, so HPC's role is to look at a structure and determine whether it fits, whether it is historically appropriate for the space. They don't look at zoning, they don't look at height, they don't look at lot line. All they're looking at is the building itself, and does it meet whatever their criteria is. So in our case, it's not a question of whether we accept HPC's recommendations or not accepting their recommendations. In fact, I think it was rather kind of, in a way, moot, because that was never part of the issue for HPC. The issue was, as Eric pointed out, was looking at the extreme variances requests in our case. And I also realize, and I know that planning did a lot of work. They've always been there making their suggestions. I'm with that, and again, once we move toward to tightening up our standards, I think it's going to be a lot easier for planning to be sending over the information, and we all can be in line. But I did ask planning that I didn't get a response from, and maybe it was felt it was kind of a rhetorical question, I don't know. But I was very curious how they could look at the 4 or 5 not meeting the standards, 4 or 5 of the standards that weren't met, and yet still be able to vote on that and push it forward and agree to it. And that's their purview. I wasn't there. I didn't attend it. I would love to have that conversation just so I can understand how that thinking works. And perhaps down the line, we can tighten things up where we don't have to have that wide discrepancy between what it ends up to us and what planning does. But at the end of the day, it's on our shoulders to follow ordinances, to follow the guidelines. And yes, there are variances, and certainly on non-conforming lots and making those sorts of exceptions. But when I spoke with somebody about this, one of the things I pointed out was this: if C1 downtown district is shifting to a different sort of model, if we do want more residences there, if we do want bigger buildings, then let's work very closely with the upcoming comprehensive plan. Let's look at what those ordinances are. Let's look at how, I want us to grow, I want us to move forward, but I want to do it within how our ordinances direct us to do it, not by extreme variances for one person or for another. So anyway, my point is this: I don't want to miss the boat. I don't want to act like we're back in the dark ages and we're not going to grow. We're not doing anything. I just want to be able to do I want to be able to sit down and look at the ordinance and go, yeah, we can do this, or yes, we could agree to that. I mean, I want to follow what the ordinances say. And again, if we need to start looking at that, and again, as a comprehensive plan is coming up, I look forward to seeing how things shift and seeing what can make us more of a vibrant, growing community.
I guess I agree with Betsy in that I feel like there are silos, and each of those silos deals with a different thing. None of them deal with everything like we're expected to do. So if you have historic preservation, that's their interest. That's what they're focused on. If you have housing, that's what their focus is on. And our task is to look at it all and make some generalizations about the big picture. That's the difficult part here, because it sounds like we're poo-pooing the work that those folks have done. We're not. It's really important to us that you understand that. They are valued, and the work that they do is really important. There's no two ways about it. I've said personally, in regard to other things, not about this, but I feel like in our society, I'm going to get philosophical here for a second, I feel like we are starting to lose the lines. We are moving lines to the point where people don't know where the lines are sometimes. And I think that's problematic, that if you think in terms of what requirements are, if you move that and then you move it again, suddenly that line disappears. And you have no recourse on it. So when I think of this, it's about moving lines. And this is literally moving lines. So that's where my heart is on this.
So can I ask our staff, have we approved variance in the past?
Are you asking if you can approve like a portion of it and?
No, just have variance been approved by this council in the past?
Yes.
Not just this particular variance, but has variance been approved by this council
Yes, sir.
in the past?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I don't have a vote. It's left entirely up to the council. And I made my statement at our last council meeting, and I'm not going to make those comments tonight. But sometimes I just say, as a city, and as the mayor, I'm just speaking from the viewpoint as the mayor, we have to sometimes look at the bigger picture and what's going to benefit Madison and what's not going to benefit Madison. And of course, we all have our opinions. And I still say this: we all read the newspaper.
You're doing it.
And whether it's positive or negative, we read the newspaper. And in recent articles, it has stated that our city is in financial problems, is having financial problems and financial difficulties. And if we want to dig ourselves out of a hole, let's start with the good tax base. How much tax revenue is this going to bring into our city? And it's not about Preston Snyder, it's not about some other development. It's about revenues for our city and to make our city, not the city better for Preston or his family, but to make this city better for each and every citizen in this community. And sometimes hard decisions are hard to make. Tough decisions are hard to make. And each council member have their vote. They can make their own decisions. And I still stand with improvements are needed in our city. And the height of this building will not take away from the city of Madison. People ride through our city all the time. They ride South Main into North Main. They look at buildings that they may not be that high, but they look at high-story buildings, historical buildings. And how many people, I keep saying, are going to drive on Hancock Street, north on Hancock Street, and going to look up at that big building? When we're facing the courthouse, as we're going north on Hancock Street, a big building on that corner, a big historical building on that corner. And this building can look just as nice on the opposite corner if it's done right and built right. And I believe that the builder had good architects, good designers. And they did their due diligently. And sometimes we just have to look at the bigger picture instead of just being stagnated on one particular thing.
If I could add one comment, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but there's usually 6 of us up here, and we're elected to 4-year terms. The charter wisely has 3 of us up for election every 2 years. The pool of citizens who are willing to do what we do seems to be a small one, because the majority of time they are uncontested elections. And perhaps one of the reasons why that pool is so small of citizens willing to serve their community in this capacity is because how difficult these challenges are that we have to decide on. The people that, no matter what we vote on tonight, how we vote, half of you and half the citizens are going to be happy with us, and half are going to be very disappointed and very angry with us. And that's, unfortunately, that just comes with the responsibility we took. And the people that were disappointing and are angry with us, they're our friends and they're our neighbors. And I just say that because we took this job so we can make the hard decisions, and here we are. I wanted to kind of reiterate what Jim said. We've gotten a lot of comment, public comment through emails, a lot of good comments last month when we had the public hearing, press reports, various other hearings, planning and zoning and so forth, HPC. And they do, to Jim's point, they do kind of look at a narrow segment of the big picture. Our job is to look at all the various facets of what goes into this and look at those facets within the framework of the legal requirements of our zoning ordinance. And that's a challenge. Common sense sometimes say, well, this would be a wonderful project. But at the same time, we have legal requirements that we need to look at. That's really all I have to say.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one last thing?
Sure.
I just want to thank the Preston Snyder team, because they really didn't have to come to planning and zoning and HPC. He could have just followed the ordinance and just went and built whatever he wanted to build. So I would like to thank him and his team for taking the time to come and meet with planning and zoning and go by different requirements and see exactly what the city would like to see. So for me, he could have just went and built this humongous, massive building. How big did you say it could possibly be?
63,000 square feet.
So right now, he can build a building that would be 63,000 square feet
Yes, ma'am.
without us saying anything.
In 3 buildings, so it's across the 2 parcels, but yes.
But what we have right now in our agenda, on our agenda, how many square feet would that be?
43,000 roughly is the proposal.
So it actually would be smaller, and he came to find out what he thought the city would like to see.
Mhm.
and we're voting against that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And one final question to our staff. When we appoint these people to serve on our HPC and serve on the planning and zoning board, don't they have to go through some type of training on planning and zoning and?
They'll go through trainings. We usually will set them up with training. I know planning and zoning does. I'm assuming HPC does as well. Yeah.
And I guess the final question is, if they go through training, as staff goes through training, and then they give a report to this mayor and council, and we feel like that they're not qualified to do that, then why have these boards?
I don't think anyone's saying they're not qualified, Mayor.
Exactly.
The HPC, for example, as Betsy pointed out, they don't look at the standards. They don't look at the requirements of zoning for dimensional requirements. They look at the historical context. In this case, they chose, there was another hotel on their property, by the way, quite a bit smaller. A 2-story hotel that preceded the one that burned. For whatever reason, it's kind of been overlooked, and we focus on the bigger hotel. But they're not looking at the zoning ordinance, they're looking simply at the historical context. And granted, there was a large building approximating the size of what Mr. Preston wants to, is applying for, I agree. But that is only one part of what we look at. There's many other factors that need to go into our decision, the big picture that Jim and Betsy are referring to.
It kind of bothers me to think that the assumption might be that we have not done our work on this. And I can't tell you personally how much time I have invested in this, and I'm sure my colleagues have as well. We are not taking this lightly. And it's a really important piece, I think. And I know that the commissions and boards do a lot of work as well, but there's a lot of hours sitting on this dais right now.
Thank you. Are there no more comments from mayor and council? We're ready for a vote. Motion, second.
Mayor, I would move to, for property M18063 to approve the requested variance for the frontage dimension of 103 feet, to approve a square foot increase to 10,000 square feet. Both of those based on the public hearing and meeting a majority of the standards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I would move to deny the height increase variance as having failed standards 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Let the record show 3 for and 1 opposed. Motion is carried.
Can I just clarify the width is 103 feet and 4 inches, just for the record?
I believe that was the requested
Okay.
amount, yeah. And I can only assume that is the dimension of the lot.
Yeah.
Is that the only clarification you need?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the full width that they were requesting was being allowed or approved.
Okay. We'll move to the next item on our agenda. Public hearing 2026.003.0N. Conditional use Murphy USA 1770 Eatonton Road, 037E017B. Jill?
Yes.
Molly, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. The applicant is applying for a conditional use permit to construct a convenience store with fuel sales at 1770 Eatonton Road. There was public comment that was filed on January 6, 2026. Convenience stores with fuel sales are not listed as compatible uses in C3 zones, although they are listed as compatible in C4 zoning districts, or the convenience-oriented commercial nodes in direct proximity to exits 113 and 114 along I-20. A traffic study was submitted by the applicant and was since responded to by Derek Doster of Jacobs Engineering, as well as Aaron Wadley, who is our city engineer. Aaron Wadley did a traffic analysis which stated that the proposal would not appear to increase traffic, would not increase traffic in the area. However, the report did dive into some safety concerns regarding the driveways, which I'll get into on the next slide. And although the proposal may not significantly increase traffic in this area, it is proposed at an intersection of two busy state highways, Eatonton Road and the Madison Bypass. So the addition of another traffic generator could possibly create traffic hazards and increase traffic to the site. The driveway onto 441, which is pictured up there, it does currently allow for left turns in and out of the property, which the traffic analysis deems as a safety and visibility issue. Both professional engineers recommend approval only if the applicant proposes right in, right out turns only into the driveway that is on Highway 441. Derek Doster also suggests a raised concrete island forcing vehicles in the northbound right lane to turn right into the site. The developer should also be limited to the existing curb cuts, and they should also provide pedestrian access from the public sidewalk to the front door of the convenience store. And that can be read in more detail in his in the staff report, as well as his engineering recommendations letter. And then up on the screen, you'll see is what Aaron Wadley prepared. He prepared a visual representation of his recommendations. So the minimal recommendation would be to construct a concrete curb delineator supplemented by striping and no left turn signage. And then option 2 would be that with an addition of a median in the center of, two-way left turn to prevent illegal left turns into Murphy, USA. Both of those recommendations would need to be approved by GDOT. And if y'all deem this is necessary, then the applicant would be responsible for constructing that with approval by GDOT. When this was brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they recommended approval, which was passed 4-1. They expressed concerns about safety issues caused by the driveways, as well as a constant flow of traffic that is currently at the nearby intersection, as well as its incompatibility with the character area and the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. This time our public hearing is over. If there's anyone here to speak for this Murphy?
Everybody,
Sure, good evening.
got a couple visual aids because I'm a visual learner, so.
May I clarify for just a second when you're, Jill? I believe you said that you said that the P and Z voted to approve. You said approval, not denial.
I apologize. It was for
Would you like to
denial.
remind us
Yes,
again? what-
Yes. They recommended denial, and that was passed 4-1.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Joseph Brickman. I'm here to represent Murphy USA and this conditional use permit. Murphy is a national brand. They've got 1,700 stores in 27 states, 100 stores in Georgia already. Importantly, they're corporately owned. This is not a franchised out type of business. This is, they're coming in to own their spot and they're gonna run it their way. Every single location has very modern safety features, a very professional on-site 24/7 management, masonry architecture, enhanced landscaping, energy efficient lighting. This is the real deal, and this is not something that's gonna come in and then have any risk of leaving. So that's what I want to start with. Now, this is not a variance request. This is not a rezoning request. This is just a conditional use permit. And I'm going to say that now because I foresee a couple comments perhaps once I sit down that they're asking for this, they're asking for that. This is a conditional use permit. Now, we'd be asking for the same thing even if we were zoned C4. This is currently zoned C3, and I'm going to keep referring back to this map right here, which is the zoning map right now. I'll bring this up to you guys so you can see it up close. But our property is located right up here. So as you'll see, based off the different shades of red, and I'll come down the aisle, right there. We are in an ocean of C4, but we are bordering C3. So why this is so significant is because this is a policy question for you guys. This is extremely context specific. This is not a domino effect trend setter. This is a one-time request because it makes sense in this spot. Now.
Thank you, Ken.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm usually in court, so this is, I apologize in advance. So staff has brought up a few concerns, and I want to go through those with you guys. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is to exactly what you said, Councilmember Joyce, let's look at what the standards say. Because as much as we want to look at this comprehensive plan by itself, we can't do that. We have to look at the code itself, because that's what's going to dictate how we approach this analysis. So first and foremost, turn lanes. This is not a traffic problem. I also foresee maybe some comments that are going to come up that this is going to create traffic, this is going to generate traffic. And I know I'm already getting the look, and I'm happy to explain. We did our due diligence before we came here. We didn't just show up knocking and say, this is going to work because we said it's going to work. We got our own traffic study done. This is a national brand. There's 1,700 stores. They don't just show up unless they think this is actually going to work. We did our due diligence, and so did the city. They had 2 different traffic studies commissioned after our traffic study. All 3 of them agree this is not going to generate extra traffic. This type of location is not an anchor. It's not a destination location. I'm not trying to untoot my own horn. But this is a facilitator. This is something that absorbs traffic and services. So as far as traffic is concerned, I don't think there's any conversation there. Now, turn lanes, safety, that was brought up in the city's commission reports, and I want to talk about that. Now, based off of the actual boundaries of what we would own at this property and what is being requested in these traffic reports, there's been an ask of if you guys have a right-in, right-in-out turn lane, or if you put in a median and protect from safety concerns from cars colliding if they're turning different ways. We would love to negotiate that, but we can't because we don't own it. Now, if DOT wants to talk to us, we're absolutely more than happy to comply. We're on board with that, and if y'all are inclined to approve this application, feel free to put that as a condition. We would welcome it. We just can't really ourselves negotiate it, but we're happy to work with DOT to make that happen. We want it to happen. We want it to be safe. Now, another piece of traffic in general, or more so safety, the shared access driveway that's connected to this property that has Dunkin' next door. Those are the types of shared driveways that actually improve safety, and they're there for a reason. And historically, that's what the purpose is in general, is not only for ease of access, but for safety purposes too. So I'm gonna hop again into the standard itself. Whether the proposed use will be detrimental to adjacent properties or the general neighborhood, there are no big safety concerns flagged outside of these two reports from the city that say these turn lanes. We've got that handled. We're happy to comply with that. We want to comply with that. Now, another concern that's in the staff report, inconsistency with the comprehensive plan. So that's really the big ticket item and why we're really here to talk to you guys, because this, again, is a policy question. This property is isolated. This is not something that causes a domino effect. This is in a specific spot. And I want to be very particular because C3, which is what we're currently zoned, focuses on providing necessary amenities to support the surrounding business ecosystem. That's what we want to do here. Like I said, this is an isolated spot. And specifically, we're looking at a spot that is the only spot below the Madison bypass at a major intersection that is not Zone C4. The comprehensive plan does split, and I can change this out. The comprehensive plan does split the commercial investment areas into two different categories. There's the interstate corridor and there's a commercial node. The commercial node is indicated with these purple circles here. Now, as you'll see, and I can bring this up as well, some of these purple circles are outside of city limits. Again, we're getting into a policy question. Why is that the case? Why is it that this is the only spot below the Madison bypass that doesn't have one of these purple circles, even though, as staff did tell you guys, these are two major highways. And how this is defined in the comprehensive plan is also important, because a commercial node is defined as something at a very particular major highway intersection and is something that absorbs traffic rather than generates it. Now, the special part of what this is proposing is that it wouldn't be the general C4 density and high volume type of project. This is actually the best of both worlds. This is the C3 aesthetic and the lower density, lower volume, but in a C4 zone. So as it relates to whether the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, we think it is. And I'm gonna slow down. I want to answer some questions at the end. But moving on to the final concern raised by staff is environmental. Now, I want to be very clear with this. Environmental regulations by the EPA as it relates to fueling stations largely came about pre-1988 based off of legacy decommissioned sites. This is a brand new proposed site, and with that comes brand new higher standards for detecting if there's an oil spill, for preventing it up front, and to know how to handle this. Now, Murphy has only been around since 1997, so we haven't had to deal with those problems. But not only are all of the EPA standards higher than they used to be, we exceed those. There's double-walled underground storage tanks. There's corrosion-resistant materials, new automatic leak detection systems, and spill and overfill prevention devices. Now, we don't plan on leaving, but even if you all wanted to kick us out, we would have to go back in and take out this equipment and do it the right way to make sure that this doesn't turn into a brownfield. So as it relates to environmental concerns, again, we've got that covered. Now, the next standard that we're going to look at, whether the proposed use will cause damaging volume into a stable neighborhood of well-maintained single-family homes. This point is moot. We are over a mile away from any sort of residential development or neighborhood. Again, this would not open the door to anything because this is the only site of its kind. This is a well-secured, well-maintained, and very overly landscaped community asset. And on my last point, I will say, if you look at the site plan, this is the landscaping plan, this is the design plan. If you look at what we're proposing to do here, and if you look at the area that's covered right now imperviously versus green space, we're trying to flip that on its head. Right now, there's an impervious coverage of 54%. We're proposing to reduce that down to 38%. Landscaping area right now is at around 45%. We're trying to up that up to 63%. Now, we know this site needs a little bit of tender love and affection because it's kind of fallen into disrepair. But these trees and this space are fantastic, and they really are the perfect buffer zone for the right project and someone who's going to come in here and do this the right way. We've listened to the community's concerns as it relates to the pedestrian access. We've got that covered. That's already been submitted to the corridor design team. That's taken care of, and the project has gone through many iterations to make sure not only that it functions well, but it looks good. So with that, I will.
Mr. Mayor, the applicant's 10 minutes have expired.
Okay. Your minutes have expired. Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here to speak against?
Thank you.
Sure.
You have to speak in the microphone, or do I need to?
I think we can hear you. It's up to you.
Okay. Hello, council, Mr. Mayor, my name's William Ward. Please forgive me, I get a little nervous with crowds. My name is William Ward. I represent Nancy Ward. She is the trust owner of the property right next or right behind the Rite Aid. Let me begin by saying that I appreciate your time. And I apologize, I don't, I apologize, what was your name? Joseph. Joseph is right, he kind of jumped the ball on some of the things. He is pretty accurate that I was going to address, because we addressed it the first time. But let me get out right from get-go with this. I've been born and raised in here in this town, okay? And so I can tell you a few things. First thing we can talk about is the environmental thing. I won't touch on that very long. I've been in the petroleum business for 20 years. I'm vice president of Madison Chemical Company. That was started here in 1985. Tanks are going to leak. They're going to eventually, no matter what. But we can get to that later. I have an expert that's going to bring that up. What we're concerned about is the pond and that's right behind our property, and the creek that's behind us. And what you can't control is when you have a parking lot that has gas, when the people pour gas when it fills out on the field, or spills, or oil leaks, or antifreeze, or anything else. Anything you can possibly think of that happens at a gas station. You can't control that. They can say they can, but what happens when it rains, it runs downhill, which our property is downhill. It's going to roll downhill. So you got that issue. Traffic. Let's talk a little about traffic. Traffic isn't an issue. Who in here has not seen a traffic accident at that intersection? Anybody? I believe I have. I believe there's been a bunch of them. Making a concrete barricade, you can do that. But let's see how many people jump that. How many people have seen accidents because there's people that try to do U-turns? This is a disaster. Or how about, just for giggles, being at the traffic intersection during prime time when you're trying in that center lane, you're stuck in the center lane, and there's you're stuck there between Dairy Queen and Chick-fil-A and Lowe's. That is a concern. For us who live here and know this stuff, you can run all the statistics you want, but till you've seen it, you know what you're talking about. So that is a major concern. As far as the main and the big issue why we're here is the devaluation of our property. Again, I've been in the petroleum business for 20 years. My parents bought this property for a simple reason. They wanted to leave it to their grandkids. They wanted to build they were hoping to build a restaurant. That hasn't happened yet. But they bought that C3 property for a reason, with the expectation that it was going to stay that way. You take that away from, the first thing that's going to happen is a C4. The first thing that's going to happen is you allow this, there's going to be a phase 2 environmental study. That's tens of thousands or plus dollars. You're going to have a great, if something were to happen and Murphy were to leave, you have what they call a zombie space, zombie parking lot. It devalues our property tenfold. I'm going to leave you to this because there's other people who want to speak. There's two more points I'd like to make. number 18, please everybody remember that. I mapped it myself. 7.5 miles in any direction, there's 18 gas stations currently. I'm not even talking about inside the city of Madison, 18 gas stations. Why do we need another one when it's not zoned for that? I also would request, if you get a chance, we were talking about the newspapers. Well, I'm not going to the newspapers, but the city, the Facebook, what's going on in Morgan County. Has anybody looked at that and by any chance noticed that it brought up this issue about the Murphy gas station? As of April 12th, I did a quick survey of the people that discussed it. There were 39 responses. Of 38 of 39 were against it. That's, for people who like statistics, that's 97.4 were against. That's our citizens, our fellow Morgan County citizens, the people of Madison, are against this. All I'm simply asking is for y'all to do nothing. Follow the law that was written before. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak against?
Hello, good evening. My name is Emily Parisi, and first and foremost, I'm a citizen in Morgan County, a concerned citizen at that. Secondly, I'm an environmental and occupational health scientist. I'm currently working to obtain my PhD in toxicology from the University of Georgia. And I'd like to start by saying that the authority to permit or deny this development rests solely with the local zoning regulation. Per the comprehensive plan, the proposed site is fundamentally non-compliant. The property in question is located within a C3 zone, and fuel centers are explicitly excluded from compatible use within a C3 designation. Now, to counter some of the things that our friend Joseph has said, they said that there's no residence within a mile, but there's a very vital community center, my very own church that I would attend, within 1 mile of this site. However, going on to the environmental risks. The EPA regulates underground storage tanks under 40 CFR Part 280 and related subchapters. These regulations are intended to mitigate damage, not prevent it entirely. Our friend Mariah Joseph also mentioned that this is a pre-1988 law. However, this is also not true. These laws were updated in 2015 to be stronger than ever. He said that they go above and beyond, and on all 3 points that he mentioned are explicitly outlined in this law, and so they are not going above and beyond, at least based on what he said. They are exactly following what they are required to do. However, as we know, these requirements are only intended to mitigate this damage. As of December 2025, the EPA has documented 581,000 confirmed releases from underground storage tanks nationwide. Unlike what he said, this does not sound like no chance of leaking. Petroleum brownfield risk is also incredibly high. Approximately 50% of the 450,000 brownfield sites in the United States are contaminated by petroleum, primarily from leaking underground storage tanks at retail gas stations. The cost of remediation of these sites often exceeds the land value, leading to, as Mr. Ward mentioned, abandoned zombie stations that depress the property values of the entire surrounding area. Remediating a contaminated gas station is significantly more expensive than standard commercial construction. Historical data from the EPA suggests that the average cost for cleaning up a standard service station release is approximately $400,000. However, if the contamination reaches the groundwater, costs frequently jump into millions of dollars. Even after the cleanup, the properties adjacent to a brownfield will suffer from environmental stigma. Numerous studies show that properties within 500 feet of a known release can see a 10 to 30% reduction in market value, and they may never fully recover even after the site is declared clean by the state. While the EPA mandates technical safeguards, they cannot override the laws of geology and physics. Once a leak occurs, the environmental and financial plume of contamination spread rapidly, crossing property lines before it's even detected by many sensors. When a UST fails, the released substances undergo a process called leaching, where chemicals separate and migrate through the soil. The contaminants move with the natural flow of groundwater. The neighboring property of the property in question is downgradient, acting as a collection point for any subsurface leaks from the station. Modern fuel additives like MTBE and ethanol are highly soluble. Unlike crude oil, which moves slowly, these travel hundreds of feet from the source in a matter of days. The introduction of a high-risk UST system creates a permanent threat to both private and public water safety and the properties in general. Mr. Ward mentioned the creek and pond located on the neighboring land, which is at high risk of contamination. Further, gas stations are hotspots for surface contamination. Rainwater carries surface spills of oil, antifreeze, and heavy metals directly into local storm drains and nearby streams, bypassing the protection of these underground tanks entirely. Courts have historically found that groundwater contamination constitutes a permanent nuisance and trespass to neighboring properties. By approving this site against the zoning recommendations, the city is knowingly placing neighbors' watering and property security at risk. It's vital to note that cleanup of these sites does not mean restoration. Even after EPA-mandated corrective action, residual petroleum often remains trapped in soil pores, creating permanent stigma on the neighboring property titles. A property located next to a known leakage or even a high-risk site can see significant increases in both insurance premiums.
Mr. Mayor, the
Sure.
10 minutes has expired.
Your 10 minutes has expired. Thank you. I think both sides have taken up their time. Is that right? This public hearing is closed, and it's back to our council members for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, are we able to ask either the applicant or ask the
You can,
applicant some
yes, yeah,
questions?
you can,
Okay.
yes.
Joseph, with the concerns raised on the creek and the pond and the infiltration, if there were a leak or in their minds, what will happen because you have spillage and that kind of thing, is there something that can be in place to?
And there already is, and I'm sorry to cut you off. So part of the design for this proposed project accounts for everything downhill, not just the rest of the surrounding property. There are, yeah, please do.
My name's Eric Huffine. Part of the improvement on the site, not only reducing the amount of impervious area, which
Can you speak into your microphone, please?
the reduction in the impervious area, which reduces the amount of pollutants that are collected, are directed into the stormwater collection pond on site, which is stormwater quality, which detains the water, allowing the sediment to settle out. And also, as part of the improvements to the site, we are adding a stormwater quality device that is on the downstream side of the outfall for the pond, which will collect the sediment that makes it through the pond and also allows the floatables to be captured in the device to prevent the fuel that's spilled on the site from transferring downstream. So, and that's part of the state requirements for stormwater management that are being applied to the site.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I may just add to that, a lot of what I think we just heard was very presumptive of what is going to happen. That's just not true. There's a lot of very strict guidelines that we follow and go truly above and beyond. And without this project even being there yet, it's very difficult to say what has already happened or what will happen. And I'll stop there. But if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
There's just a quick question for you. I think our engineer said that he approved the project. He was just concerned about the left-hand turn going out of the station there, making a left-hand turn. And I think you said that GDOT will have to do a thing in the middle to keep a company going across. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you was going out of that driveway, particular driveway, and if you put up a sign that says no left-hand turn, does GDOT have to do that left-hand turn, no left-hand turn, Staff, or can he put a sign in his driveway that says, no left-hand turns?
Because we don't own that property, we'd have to get consensus from everybody else who has access to that drive, which include the wards, because they're part of the reciprocal easement, crossover easement. It would include the Bojangles, the Duncan, and there's one other property that would have to approve that. So it's probably something best handled by the city. But I think the proposal actually would be easier, is to go to GDOT and allow us to put delineators down that turn lane to prevent people from turning left. That would probably be the simplest and the easiest thing to do.
I was, Ken, could I ask you to put up that first site plan? I think it might be from the tax assessor's office. The very first one is part of the report. No,
From
going
Q
back.
Public?
Yeah, I think it's the
Q
Q
Public.
Public one. Yeah, when I first looked at that, I was kind of stunned when I realized that the two curb cuts, the access points to that property preceding you guys, was not on your property.
That's correct.
They're both on the neighbor's property, which seems to be really problematic in crafting solutions to the safety issues that.
We were not, we were not a part of that either, so. I'm not sure what the reason was back in the 1990s when they built this and what was required, or what the plans were.
It certainly complicates your job, because some of the solutions you don't have control over.
Correct. Absolutely. And I mean, that's why we want to be a partner. We want to follow what's been recommended, but we have our own ideas. And this is another, I know I keep saying policy question, and that's why, and I know we've talked about tonight, the planning commission versus you guys, and who's looking at the big picture and who has to make these difficult decisions. Another policy question, aside from where we are in this ocean of C4, is what's going to happen with this site, whoever comes to develop it, even at C3. I mean, there's clearly some issues there, and that's why I think we thought this was such a great site, because we know we're reliable. We know we'll go up and beyond, and we know we'll work with the city and with the neighbors to make sure that this is safe. But that's another issue here, objectively, is going to be how do we access this property, even if it's not us, moving forward.
The other thing here is because we're looking to redevelop and because our use requires a CUP, this building's been empty for multiple years. It's been for sale for multiple years. There has not been, that I'm aware of, another offer on the contract before we made, or on the property before we made ours. However, if someone were to come in and reuse that building, they can do it without ever coming before you, without any conditions. They'd have left-hand access. They'd have all the things that you potentially are safety issues that you could not address. We're giving you an opportunity to address them.
Point of clarification, the building, yes, can be used. If a use is conditional within the land use table, it would still have to come before you, even if the building was being reused.
If it was
Yeah.
conditioned.
Correct.
Yeah, of course.
Mayor and Council, I'm going to address the access issue, if you'll let me, just from some archival perspectives. So first of all, the other three corners were zoned PCD. They're all planned developments. And so therefore, since they were all planned developments, they had interparcel access. So when this corner developed, the property was allowed to have interparcel access, but the owners subdivided the pieces and sold them off in different pieces. So this parcel has access through those access points, and the fact that the other PCDs didn't sell off their parcels, but this one did, even though it's not a recorded PCD, it was planned to have access off of those 2 points. So I just want to be clear, it's not that the access is precluding any form of development, this one or any other. That was entertained during the review process for planned developments versus inter-parcel coordination access. So,
Thank you.
that answer any concerns about access to the site?
we?
The public hearing is closed, sir. Yeah, no more comments from the audience. Okay, it's back to our council.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more question.
Sure.
On the standards. Oh, hold on 1 minute. I'm in the wrong place. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. It's gonna take me a minute.
Did you look at mine, Carrie?
Yes. Thank you. Standard number 1, about the traffic analysis again. It says it will not be detrimental.
If it's for parking, the staff report is saying it would be detrimental to the surrounding
I wanted
neighborhoods.
to make sure, I wanted to clarify.
Mhm.
Is that prior to the, or is that considering the contingency of a right turn in and right turn only, or just without that?
Just as the proposal is, so without those conditions of the right in, right out only.
And does that study contemplate whether or not that would be problematic if there were a right turn in, right turn
No.
out with the
No.
physical
um,
barrier?
Both Derek and Aaron said that it would improve safety concerns if the raised medians were in the driveway and along 441. So it would improve the safety concerns. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Any more comments from council? If not, we are for a vote.
A motion. Mr. Mayor, if I may, given the fact that we have so many standards that have not been met, I feel like there should be, anyway, I would like to make a motion to deny the conditional use of convenience store with fuel sales for 037E017B based on the application. In public hearing and discussion and considering the applicable standards with the following conditions, standards 1, 3, 5, 8, and 9 do not appear to be met.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 against. Okay, 1 opposed. Thank you. C, public hearing, 2026-006, map amendment, Lee Apney, 084, M18-083, M18-103, and M18-104.
Yes, sir. The applicant is applying for a map amendment to rezone for properties along Hendricks Lane from R8 to R2 to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling on M18-083, which is the parcel labeled with a 1 up on the screen. The city's attorney has stated this proposed rezone would not be considered spot zoning as the area is a mixture of residential zoning districts already. The proposal would actually bring M18084, which is parcel number 2, into higher compliance with the ordinance, as single-family dwellings are not permitted in R8 zoning districts, but they are permitted in R2 zoning districts. As you can see by the screen, there's a lot of different housing types in this area. Like I said, there's an existing single-family dwelling on parcel number 2, but the proposal is to amend all 4 of the labeled parcels 1 through 4 to R2. Parcels number 3 and 4 and 1 as well are undeveloped, and 1 would be the new construction site. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and that motion was approved 5-0. Thank you.
The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak for this amendment? Mr. Abney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everyone knows me. Good evening. Thank you, Jill. I think she captured exactly what I want to do. I'm available here if anyone has any questions or concerns about the project. I'd be more than happy to speak with them.
Thank you, Mr. Abney. Anyone else here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against? If not, this public hearing is closed. It's back to the council for debate, comments, motion, and second.
So Jill, is the gist of the issue here that under current zoning, he's only really allowed to build apartments, yet he can't build apartments because there's a spacing requirement to be, so he can't, as
That's
it's
right.
currently zoned, he can't do anything except go down to the pond and fish, I guess.
Yep.
Is that kind of why we're here?
Yes, and so being that it's zoned R8, single-family dwellings are not permitted in that zoning, so he wouldn't be able to build single-family. He would only be able to build duplexes and then a different type of land use. But as you said, there's a proximity issue, so there isn't room for any development for multifamily in that area.
And may I ask this, so we're looking at, am I saying, there are 4 parcels, is that
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Is that owned by the same person?
Yes.
So, not that we know intention, but if we move to R2 for all of those, then is the possibility of then building more than one single-family home? How many homes could I build there?
Just the one. Given the setbacks that would be required by R2, there wouldn't be room for anything over one house.
Okay.
Mhm.
You mean the one in addition to the existing one?
That's right, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jill.
Mhm.
Any more questions? For my council, if not, it's back to the council for a motion. A second.
I move to approve a map amendment to rezone M18-083, M18-084, M18-103, M18-104 from multifamily high-density residential district, R8, to medium lot residential R2, based on the application, public hearing, and discussion, and considering applicable standards with the following conditions. Standards 1 through 4 and 6 of section 1121.8 have been met.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposers, none, vote unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Abney.
Thank you, Lee.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Public hearing, 2026.007, map amendment, City of Madison, 1100 Mary Magnus Boulevard, 036E009. Jill.
So I'm going to give these two staff reports together, but you'll just need to have two different motions in two different public hearings. So this property is for the new fire station. It's currently in the county and it needs to be annexed into the city, as well as rezoned to I-1. So it's the parcel up there highlighted in blue. It's currently zoned C2 within Morgan County, and the abutting properties within Morgan County are zoned C2 to the north and agricultural to the east. One abutting property is the Sheriff Stations Association, and the other properties are vacant. The properties across Mary Magnin Boulevard are within the city of Madison and are zoned C3. These three of the C3 properties have land uses of a bank, a timber company, and as well as a church. And the remaining property is vacant. The proposed zone for the property is Light Industrial Limited Manufacturing District, I-1. And the City of Madison Fire Department is requesting a map amendment and annexation of the property to construct the new fire station. The land use would be for emergency management services. The proposed rezone of the property is compatible with Madison's comprehensive plan and character area map, as it is in the Morgan County Transitional Area of Medical and Community Service Focus Area, which aims to provide medical assistance and other community services to the public, like emergency management. The proposed property for annexation would be across the street from an existing community service character area. And this character area usually contains oversized lots with singular uses with county-wide services and land uses like education or medical services or regional recreation or tourism facilities. The property would also be near to one of Madison's interstate industrial character area clusters at the end of Mary Magnin Boulevard between 441 and I-20. If the property is zoned I-1, it would not be the only I-1 zoned property. There is a few, if you keep moving southeast, there are more I-1 zoned properties. And this is the most compatible zoning district for this land use, which is why we're proposing I-1. And that concludes the staff report. So we'll start with the map amendment, and then you can move into the annexation after the map amendment.
Any questions from council?
One for Tony, if I could, Mayor. I know there was some legislation that was at least being considered in Atlanta this last session that closed a couple weeks ago. Was there anything about changing the standards for annexation that we need to know about in this particular case?
Not that I know of, and they're usually not effective until July. Whatever they do takes governor's signature, so you're good with this.
And am I correct, Jill, that this land was the land donated by Pat Reams to the city for the purpose of this fire department?
Yes, sir.
I want to commend him for his generosity to the city.
Any more comments? If not, we're waiting on a motion and a second from the council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the map amendment to rezone 036E.
Yeah, hold
Sorry.
on. We need to have public hearing.
Oh, sorry,
So,
well,
the public hearing goes first.
yes, we do.
And it's just like any other. And so what you do with the, this one is you have a public hearing on the zoning, but you don't vote on it. Then you pick up the annexation, because it needs to be in the city. So you annex it with a motion if you choose to do that. And then the vote on the zoning comes after the annexation.
Thanks for that clarification. Yeah. So public hearing, again, Jill, you want to go ahead and talk about this annexation?
I just gave the one staff report, but we'll just do two different public hearings.
Okay. So the public hearing is now open then for 2026-007 annexation. 3 036E009, Mary Magnus Boulevard, into the city of Madison. So we've had discussions, so ready for a motion in a second.
No. I thought we were doing map amendment first.
To annex this into the city.
So we're doing public hearing for the map amendment?
Yes, you're doing a zoning, public hearing. Those in favor would come up first.
Yes.
And then you'd have a time for opposition on the zoning.
So anyone in favor of this annexation? Is there anyone here against this annexation? Not the public hearing is closed, it's back to our council for a debate, a discussion.
Mr. Mayor, now you would take up the public hearing on the annexation, and there would be a time for those in favor and a time in opposition.
Jill?
She's already did the staff report.
I don't have anything else to report for the annexation.
Okay. So, public hearing is open. Anyone here to speak for the annexation? Anyone here to speak against the annexation? Public hearing is closed. It's back to our council for a motion, debate, and discussion.
Mr. Mayor, the action item on the floor is one to approve or disapprove the annexation.
Yeah. So could I get a motion or second to approve or disapprove?
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we approve 2026.007.ANX, the annexation of 1100 Mary Magnum Boulevard, 036E009.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposers, none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much.
Map amendment. We need to do the map amendment.
Map amendment,
Zoning.
zoning, map amendment. Any more discussion from you, Jill? No.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we the approval of the map amendment to rezone 036E009 from C2 MC to I1 COM based on the public hearing and discussion and considering applicable standards.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposers, none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much. Are there any comments from the public tonight? Sure.
Bring a pen. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Bell, and I live at 555 South Main Street here in Madison, and I'm sorry to come back in front of you about the transportation plan. Ugh. But I just wanted to follow up on actually 2 items on the plan that you recently reviewed and adopted with changes. One of the changes you requested does not appear to have been included in the line changes at the end. So what you have in front of you is the slide deck that you saw at the last meeting, only it's on paper now. So if you go to page 3 in the copy of the slide deck with the changes that were discussed and approved, you'll see that the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then on page 4, Mayor and Council, instructed that the changes to the plan before you should ensure that the proposed landscape median all the way down the middle of South Main Street would not be contiguous and should serve the primary purpose of a pedestrian refuge at crossings. Then if you look on page 4, same thing at number 3. It's not to be a contiguous landscaped median, but simply to be intermittent medians serving as pedestrian refuges at crossings. But then, when you go over, flip, it's a long document, but you only have to look at 3 pages. If you look at page number 7, here's the proposed line item changes for that median. And you'll see that unfortunately, I'm sure it was an oversight, but unfortunately, the language only talks about intermittent green medians with no mention of their intended purpose as stated by both P&Z and the Mayor and Council, that they should be pedestrian refuges for crossings. So I know it was just an oversight, but I'd like to ask that before however many plans, copies of these plans are printed and spiral bound and go to people's bookshelves, that you ask the planning department to insert the language that both bodies approved and requested. I know you can't respond tonight, but I'd ask you to put this on that really dreadfully long work session agenda for Friday morning and at the call meeting, if not, or at the call meeting that follows it, so that this can get fixed. The second item wasn't in this slide deck. It came about as a motion from Mr. Joyce to authorize and direct the city manager to meet with the railroads about closing the crossings at Kolb and Oil Mill. And that we need to make sure that's in the plan, again, before it goes to print. I haven't seen it show up anywhere. It wouldn't have been in this deck, because it came up, the slide deck, because it came up after the presentation at the meeting by motion. But again, just to make sure on a final read that it is included in the plan. The reopening of the Bernie Street crossing, which is also critically important, is already in the plan. So no worries there, that's already in the plan. But these two, the motion was made, seconded, approved, and that needs to get in the plan too. So I would just ask that you review the plan and the changes and make sure these are in it, if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more comments from the public? If not, this meeting is adjourned, and I would like a motion to go into executive session just for a few minutes, please, to discuss personnel.
So moved.
Second.
If there any more discussion, all in favor, show of hands. Opposed is 1. Opposed is none. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna